Death penalty for murdering her 10-year-old cousin by locking her inside a box as punishment for stealing a popsicle.
Details about how Amy Deal died after being locked in a box for allegedly taking a popsicle without asking.
It makes me angry. I'm angry because of what happened to this little girl over my shoulder.
Jurors decided that there were aggravating factors in this case, making Allen eligible for capital punishment.
And then the court is required to immediately sentence the defendant to death.
Admissibility of trial evidence. Samantha, a woman under arrest, claims that her trial was fundamentally flawed due to the trial court's admission of statements made by her, John, and Detective McKay while they were in police custody. The court applies a fundamental error standard to testimony admitted without objection, requiring the defendant to show that the error existed, is fundamental, and caused prejudice. Samantha argues that the trial court erroneously admitted her statements to McKay because they were the fruit of an illegal seizure, as neither probable cause nor a warrant existed for her arrest. She forfeited this claim at trial, absent fundamental prejudicial error. Samantha's arrest was supported by probable cause, as she did not dispute the facts known to PPD prior to her arrest. The preliminary autopsy confirmed that AD died from suffocation and overheating, and Samantha and John were involved in the abuse and slaying of AD.
It is the closing of one more chapter in this horrific case of child abuse that stunned the Valley back in 2011. Murder trial for a Phoenix woman accused of helping suffocate a 10-year-old girl in a plastic box.
Details about how Amy Deal died after being locked in a box for allegedly taking a popsicle without asking.
Did you see the box?
I did not see the box.
Did you see Amy?
All I saw was purple lip.
Her cousin, Samantha Allen, already put on death row for the murder, and tonight Allen's husband, John, is joining her.
Samantha concedes her failure to request a limiting instruction, and because the trial court was not required to give a limiting instruction absent Samantha's request, there was no error. Samantha also argues that the trial court committed fundamental error by admitting Detective McKay's statements and questions, which she claims contained inadmissible hearsay in violation of the Confrontation Clause and impermissibly opined on the ultimate issue. The court has ruled that the Confrontation Clause does not apply to the admission of videotape interviews where a detective repeats statements made by non-testifying witnesses against the defendant. In this case, the state used statements made by non-testifying witness implicating Samantha in AD's demise to elicit a response or confession during the videotaped interview, which do not constitute testimonial hearsay and do not run afoul of the Confrontation Clause. The trial court did not err in admitting the videotaped interview. Challenges to juror selection. Samantha argues that the trial court erroneously struck Juror 155, a government teacher who opposed the ending penalty based on accomplice liability. Juror 155 had reviewed numerous ending penalty cases with his students and stated that he would find it difficult to impose the ending penalty due to mitigating circumstances. The state moved to strike Juror 155 for cause because he had never seen a case where the ending penalty was appropriate, would not impose the ending penalty unless there was a complete absence of mitigating factors, and repeatedly responded in his questionnaire that it would be difficult to impose the ending penalty.
This afternoon was very heavy, and when the verdict was read, Samantha Allen dropped her head and began to cry.
We poll each juror.
Juror number 1, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 2, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Gave more awful details of the abuse suffered by 10-year-old Amy Deal that the family called discipline.
Juror 5, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 6, is this your true verdict?
Yes.
Juror number 7, is this your...
If I was using the box on Amy, what would you have done?
Told him not to. I already had put the box out.
The defense objected, arguing that unease with the ending penalty alone was not disqualifying, and that Juror 155 avowed he could impose the ending penalty in the absence of any mitigating circumstances. The 14th Amendment guarantees a defendant the right to a fair trial by a panel of impartial jurors, A court may strike a juror for cause if their views would prevent or substantially impair their performance of their duties in accordance with their instructions and oath. Juror 155 expressed numerous reservations and overall hesitancy about imposing the ending penalty during voir dire and in his questionnaire.
Death penalty for murdering her 10-year-old cousin by locking her inside a box as punishment for stealing a popsicle.
Stand Today provided intimate details of Samantha Allen's life, her first husband, and her mother's.
If jurors do choose the death penalty, Allen would join only 2 other women in the entire state of Arizona.
As prosecutors say that Samantha Allen locked Amy Deal into this plastic bin, a plastic box.
And then the court is required to immediately sentence the defendant to death.
The trial court clarified it was striking juror 155 based on his demeanor and hesitancy in answering the voir dire questions, and the court did not abuse its discretion in striking juror 155 for cause. Samantha alleged that Samantha intentionally or knowingly placed AD in a dangerous situation, placing her in a box 6 months before his ending. The state argued that all counts were connected and the evidence was admissible for proper purposes. An evidentiary hearing was ordered to determine whether to serve count 5. The court denied Samantha's motion to sever her charges, finding that there was clear and convincing evidence that Samantha put AD in the box as a form of punishment. Prosecutorial misconduct allegation. Samantha, a mother of 3 children, was charged with child abuse in a case involving her son AD. She argued that the state must prove that the victim's injury was caused by criminal conduct rather than slaying or accident. The state argued that the corpus delicti rule has no constitutional or statutory founding. But Arizona adopts the common law unless it is repugnant to or inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States or the Constitution or laws of the state. The court has recognized the rule for over 100 years and has not abrogated it. Samantha argued that the trial court erred in denying her Rule 20 motion on counts 2 and 5. The court must review evidence in a light most favorable to sustaining the verdict, as substantial evidence is more than a mere scintilla and is sufficient to support a conclusion of the defendant's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. In Arizona, a person commits conspiracy if they agree with one or more persons that at least one of them or another person will engage in conduct constituting the offense, and one person commits an overt act in furtherance of the offense. In this case, there was sufficient evidence of an agreement between John and Samantha as evidence of the Allens punishing AD together in the hours preceding her ending. Samantha suggested she worked with John to punish AD, including stating, "It was wrong of us to do everything that was done, and we should have stuck with your story."
A jury finding Samantha Allen guilty of first-degree murder for the death of 10-year-old Amy Deal.
The jury handing down that punishment to Samantha Allen today, who killed Amy Deal back in 2011.
It makes me angry. I'm angry because of what happened to this little girl over my shoulder.
Jurors decided that there were aggravating factors in this case, making Allen eligible for capital punishment. And as punishment for taking a popsicle without asking, today Allen learned her own fate.
Samantha claimed that the jury verdict was not unanimous because there are multiple ways to commit child abuse and the verdict did not specify the method of conviction. She argued that there are 3 separate discrete methods of committing child abuse under 13-3623A, and the trial court should have required the jury to return verdicts specifying the theory of conviction. The court reviewed questions of statutory interpretation de novo and held that a criminal defendant is entitled to a unanimous verdict on the precise manner in which the act was committed.
It all depends on aggravating circumstances, and there were 3 aggravating circumstances prosecutors say warrants the death penalty.
Without question, Samantha Allen is guilty of child abuse.
His murder trial is set for August, and Amy's mother was living in another state and was not involved with this case.
And again, Kirk, is why they're seeking the death penalty in this case. We should get an idea of how this process plays out.
The court rejected a challenge to an indictment containing 3 separate charges of child abuse, similar to Payne's case. In this case, Samantha was charged with 3 counts of child abuse under 13-3623, including locking AD in the box overnight. In a case involving a woman named Samantha, the prosecutor argued facts. The prosecutor argued facts not in evidence during the closing argument, claiming that she instructed AD to retrieve a box from outside had John retrieved the padlock, prevented AD from leaving the room while John retrieved the padlock, ordered AD inside the box, and locked AD inside the box. Samantha argued that the prosecutor invited the jury to convict her on a theory of accomplice liability absent such an instruction.
And the jury's verdict was read one by one. It was a decision they came to quickly.
There's possibly a lot more children out there that are not having a good home life that we don't know about.
Put on it. The defendant and her husband then went to bed, leaving Amy to suffocate.
Tried on murder and child abuse charges as well. That starts on August 7th. The prosecutors are looking for the death penalty.
Aggravated sentence. Samantha Allen still faces the ending penalty for the slaying of her 10-year-old cousin, Amy Deal, after the Arizona Supreme Court sustained her most severe sentence Tuesday. Allen had appealed her sentence, raising 22 issues. Out of the 22 issues she raised in her appeal, only her allegation that the state illegally placed an aggravated sentence of 2 years for negligent child abuse was sent back to the lower courts for resentencing. The court's opinion on the appeal explained the state needs to provide 2 aggravating factors when it comes to aggravated sentencing. In this case, the state only provided 1 for the negligent child abuse conviction. The offense involved an accomplice. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.